Hi everyone, Jennifer Blevin-Smith with Integral Clinic Solutions, and you're watching my YouTube channel, Navigating the Business of Medicine. Today I want to talk about a practice management workflow and creating a map. Do you ever feel like when you're running your practice, it's this puzzle that you're continuously trying to solve and you have missing pieces? Perhaps patients are waiting too long, you have staff's dissatisfaction, and nobody really knows who should do what or when. Today, in this video, we're going to talk about a workflow roadmap that should help you solve these issues. It's not just going to tell you what it is, but who should be responsible for different areas of the map, how to build the map, and then how to maintain it so it continues to work for you and your practice. So what is a workflow roadmap? Well, it's like a GPS, if you will, of operating your medical practice. It's going to tell you what steps need to be done when. It's going to tell you who's responsible for those steps, and also when those next steps need to happen and how to transition them from one person to another and get it to move forward successfully. Think of it as a type of flow chart, right? It guides every process from scheduling to billing, so everyone knows what comes next and no patient gets lost in the shuffle. You're probably going, well, what's the purpose? Why should I even bother taking the time to do this, right? Is it really going to help with efficiencies, revenue, and things like that? The big question is because of consistency. Consistency is huge in healthcare, not just in the clinical aspect with your providers making sure that they're consistently providing the best care possible and making sure that they're following up on patients, but also how your office operates consistently. Everybody's on the same page. It's just a well-oiled machine. You're going to see the benefits of this. The constant way of doing things, the expectations, is going to help eliminate guessing from your staff, and it's going to trickle into patient care, and patients are going to feel very secure and satisfied when they come to your practice. The other reason that this roadmap could come in handy is for compliance reasons. If you ever had to defend the way things were done, regulations, it's all well documented, and everybody will be able to attest to the same things for the same processes because you have this set in place. Another thing a roadmap will do is if you're seeing areas where things are bottlenecking, they're getting caught up, it's not running as smoothly as you intended, it gives you a really good idea of where things need a little bit of improvement, tweaking, and things like that. So when you're creating this flowchart or this map, there's certain aspects of operations that you need to include to make sure that you have concise and very clear outline of operating procedures and expectations. Those include scheduling, patient check-in and check-out, insurance verification and prior authorizations, clinical documentation, coding and billing, follow-ups, and reporting. And you also want to make sure that you don't leave out some of the newer aspects of healthcare, like telehealth and maybe utilizing AI if you choose to do that at some point, but also labs, any kind of outsourced billing that you might do, because those are going to affect patients' experiences whether you actually offer the full service or you might hire out a vendor to help with some of it. An aspect of this roadmap that you have to keep in mind if you want to adopt this workflow is that it's never finalized. It's never finished, because as your practice adapts to the changes in healthcare and patient volume and the needs of your patients and the provider's preferences, you're going to have to continuously move and change pieces of this roadmap to be coordinated with the ongoing changes. This is something that also will need to have some kind of retroflection of, okay, this has been going well, but maybe we need to change things here, or we're hiring a new provider in the upcoming year and it's going to affect these pieces that we're going to have to make some additional expectations, or we're going to need to change entirely. Maybe there will be situations where you're not going to use something and you're going to remove an aspect entirely. This is all possible, but someone has to be responsible for that overall monitoring of this workflow map, because it is going to be ever changing. A good rule of thumb is to try to review this every 6 months at a minimum. If you're growing fast, then you probably want to look at it sooner, maybe do it quarterly, and always keep a master copy, whether it's a laminated poster on the wall or a shared digital file. But then if you know that you have a master that nobody else can edit except for you or 2 designated people, everyone knows where to go to find it. They know it's the most updated version, and then you can archive the older version. So you can go back and you can see what's changed over time, or for God forbid, if something were to happen, there were legal issues, compliance issues, regulatory issues, you can prove that you've had a history of having this established and you are making changes, and they can go back and see what those changes are. I would never delete any versions that have been active or in the adoption of patient workflows and the practice workflows, because you want to show that history. As a practice manager myself, some of the things that I learned really fast in managing of staff is that they really want to be heard and they want to feel like their contributions make a difference and that you care about their input. When you're putting together this roadmap, I encourage you to maybe put together a very basic one, or one how you feel it should work, and then test it with your staff. Have an open conversation with them. Invite their input. Encourage their constructive criticism with your template and make changes as needed. Because again, most likely you're putting together a map in areas of the practice that you don't actually work. You don't know the actual day-to-day experience. And that's okay, because you can't be everywhere at once. You can't hold all the duties. You can, however, have the expectations, and you should know their roles well enough that you can put this together, encourage their feedback, and come up with a final version that most people are going to be comfortable with. They're going to accept it and they're going to practice it. The worst thing you could do is just hand them something and say, follow this, without any explanation, accepting any input, and you're going to see some very, very upset staff. They're going to go, this isn't realistic. How do they expect us to do this? And things like that. I had an open door policy as a manager, and I feel like it worked really well with my management style, because my staff did feel comfortable coming to me, even if I didn't verbally or in writing invite them to come to me with concerns or feedback. They felt comfortable enough to do that, and I felt very fortunate. Sometimes that might not always be the case with certain personalities in your practice, maybe with your management style or the way things have been done in the past with other managers, and so maybe they're not comfortable being open about things. You have to be able to read your audience and know your staff and be able to see if you need to encourage them and verbalize that feedback as needed and that you want it. And even if you might not agree with the feedback, maybe if you feel it's not going to work in your practice, at least be receptive of it and have a conversation about it. Explain to them why it might not work, or maybe you guys can come to a compromise and find something that will work for everyone. It's not fully what you had put into place, it's not fully what they want, but it's a nice blend of both. Once you have a final roadmap and it starts getting implemented and it's working successfully, you have to celebrate the success, not just with yourself and your providers or your managers, but with your staff as well. Give them the examples where it's working well. Maybe if you have a past experience that's similar when you didn't have a roadmap or expectations set up, and then you do, you can tell them and show them the contrast between it and how well it worked. Maybe it saved saved time. Maybe it helped a patient from getting upset. Maybe it helped a provider from getting frustrated. There could be various different ways that the outcomes changed in a positive manner, but you want to be specific and point that out to everyone, because you don't want people to feel like they're putting all this effort into something that isn't working or not successful. Maybe it is successful, but you haven't pointed out how it has been successful. And that is very important. Even if it's running well and things seem to be running better to you, maybe other people aren't noticing it and they need that active reassurance that it is a good thing. Once you have their buy-in on this, they're going to be more prone to being aware of things that might need to change in the future as things change in your practice. And they might come to you and go, hey, on our workflow map, we have this, but now we've hired this person, or we have this department or this new provider, and I feel like it needs to change, or we didn't think about this aspect of the process that we need to add to it. And you're going to go, oh my gosh, thank you so much. I didn't think about that either. It's a cooperative approach, and that is a beautiful thing if you can get everyone to help you with this, because it is a large undertaking. Obviously, the first one is the largest, but just maintaining it and making sure that you're aware that it needs to be updated at some point. Speaking of investment of time and the undertaking, if you're going to be doing this, you need to make sure that you have some kind of metrics and automations to be able to see if it is working, not just for the outcomes like I just talked about, where maybe a provider is happier, they have less burden, a patient is satisfied, things like that, but you need to have quantifiable measurements. So that means like patient wait times, claim denial rates, staff onboarding time, patient satisfaction. So you want to make sure that you clearly mark on the workflow map which steps are automated in this, like maybe sending out confirmation calls automatically through text message or phone calls or email links, portal messages, stuff like that. So when you're looking through the map and you're doing your metrics, you can look and see what's manual and staff driven, what's automatic that's like set up that needs to be monitored, and the difference between all of that. Because if it's not necessarily a staff issue where you're finding a bottleneck, but it's more of an automation and maybe system setup, then you know where to go tackle that, right? And if you have a software issue, you can focus on that instead of trying to get the runaround and figure out where it is and what's happening. If you have it all spelled out ahead of time, it saves you a lot of headache. You also have to plan for exceptions. So if a patient cancels last minute, who handles it? Build kind of the nuances of a medical practice into this workflow map too. Like I said, late cancellations, patient aging AR, sending patients to an external collection agency and how you're going to handle payments that come in after that. What if there's an emergency or a work into the schedule and patients might have to wait longer to see their provider? If you have experience working in the medical field, you know that there's going to be situations that you have no control over. Things don't run boom, boom, boom. Not everything is black and white. So when you make this roadmap, you have to keep that in mind, that not everything is going to go as smooth as possible all the time. Things are not always going to go in sequence, but as long as you have things thought of and it's there, people will know that it's somewhere on the map and they can pivot and try to figure out how to incorporate it into a different sequence and order, or they'll know how to kind of flex a little bit and be like, oh, okay, well, these are the unexpected, or these are the rarer occurrences, and I have a section for that. So I can go there and I can look at it and see how I can handle it, how to deal with it, if I need to change anything for next time. If you decide that you want to adopt this process and this idea, I would make a big deal out of it. I would ask for input while you're making it. I would have meetings for it. And when it finally is going to be launched, where you want everything to be initiated and in practice, make a big deal out of it so that people understand the gravity of the situation and be enthusiastic about it. Don't be negative. Don't be act like it took so much time. Even if it did, you have to really have a positive attitude, because that is contagious, just like a negative attitude would be contagious. If the person leading this fight, this front of adopting this workflow map, isn't excited about it, isn't willing to show the positive, optimistic side of it, then what are your staff expected to do, right? The attitude reflects the leadership a lot of times. And so the leadership needs to be very excited about it. It's even a good thing that if you have regular patients that the staff knows, the providers knows, you have a good relationship with, I would encourage sharing it with them, telling them that you're adopting a new process in the office and you're hoping that it works and you would love their feedback on the patient side of it. It never hurts. And it will also prove to ensure faster service and better care if you incorporate all the pieces that I've mentioned, and even ones I haven't, because it's not an all-inclusive list, for your specific practice to ensure that everyone is happy. Patients, providers, staff, management, vendors. You should also see a direct correlation with improvement in your revenue. Maybe patients will be more prone to paying their bills. Perhaps you're going to have less claim denials. Maybe you'll have less rejections because you're implementing better eligibility and benefits verification up front. Perhaps, hopefully, you've watched my other videos and you see that I'm very big on being proactive and not reactive and designing your map that way. A lot of good can come from this, and I could probably talk forever on each little step of this flow chart to you, and maybe someday I will do a video breaking down each individual level and what to look at and what to consider when you're putting this together. But if you want something well ran, you want something that's very clear on expectations, you want to be able to use it in other places in the business when it comes to possibly budgeting and things like that, your workflow roadmap for managing your practice is going to become very, very useful. So let's recap. A practice management workflow map is your blueprint for a more efficient, happier, and more consistent practice. You want to start small, build it step by step, involve your team, and keep improving over time by retrospect evaluation, either 6 months or quarterly, looking at where bottlenecks are and making the changes as needed. If you have any questions or comments about this, please leave that in the comments below. Smash the thumbs up button if today's video was helpful. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and please share this with your colleagues whom you feel would benefit. I appreciate the support, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.